Buenos dias, bonjour. The Dark Ages, Middle Ages, and the Renaissance, although stocked full of new and inspired ways of thinking, bore witness to the ego of man and especially the church. The Roman Catholic Church's view on astrology varied from pope to pope, but it was always alchemy and real spiritual knowledge that was held in deep suspicion, oftentimes considered black magic. The summoning and raising of spirits, angels, and demons was held in utter disdain by those who did not understand. Those who showed an interest in the esoteric field of thought were suspected and accused of dealing with the devil, as most the wars were fought in the 16th and 17th centuries CE were over religion. The barbarity of burning supposed witches and heretics continued right up through the Renaissance. The last person to be burnt at the stake in recorded history being as late as 1781. The Spanish Inquisition took on all the attributes from its predecessors, perpetuating the search for heretics until 1834. In Britain, the anti-witchcraft law was not repealed until 1951. Even today, religious fundamentalists are quick to dismiss someone or something as blasphemous when it is not in accord to what they believe. They are simply scared of the wrath of their God and do not much care for the free will and free thinking of others. They are quick to conform and see everything else as a threat, not as a beautiful, diverse element of life. The more we change, the more we stay the same. People even today are ridiculed incessantly by those with rigid belief systems who are afraid because their masks are falling down. Just like the church and the Inquisition, they are insulting spiritual people who have love in their hearts and are willing and able to teach others the truth. How much longer are we going to allow this? The real light of knowledge is not ego, envy, greed, or power. It is not dogma, a wrathful God, or the deceitful church. It is love and creativity. The Roman Catholic Church has always been a conduit for the Anunnaki. Today, Satanism, witchcraft, and black magic are practiced not only in the White House and British royal family, but by many famous personages like athletes, actors, and musicians. It was branded centuries ago as heresy, but obviously because it has significant merit. Now here's a section that I find of particular interest. The Book of Knowledge, Keys of Enoch. Enoch, through my studies and learning, Enoch is synonymous with Thoth, the Atlantean, the scribe Hermes Trismegistus, and writer, scribe of the Emerald Tablets, the Atlantean Thoth. So here we have the Book of Knowledge, Keys of Enoch / Thoth. The Book of Enoch, one of many discluded in the official Christian canon, relates the story of Enoch, great-grandfather of Noah, and his interaction with a race of ascended beings called the Watchers. In the text, the leaders of this group of beings are many. They aid mankind and are referenced as such. And Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields and breastplates, and made known to them the metals of the earth and the art of working them, and bracelets and ornaments, and the use of antimony, and the beautifying of the eyelids, and all kinds of costly stones, and all coloring tinctures. And there arose much godlessness, and they committed fornication, and they were led astray, and became corrupt in all their ways. Simjaza taught enchantments and root cuttings, Amoros the resolving of enchantments. Barakijal taught astrology, Kokabel the constellations, Ezekiel the knowledge of the clouds, Arachiel, the signs of the earth, Shamsiel, the signs of the sun, and Saniel, the course of the moon. From the Dead Sea Scrolls, Book of Enoch. Compared with the original source of 1 Enoch, chapter 1, verse 9, which may be in Deuteronomy, chapter 33, verse 2, the parables of the watchers are seen to assist mankind on its evolutionary progression to higher consciousness. It is proclaimed, the Lord came from the Sinai and dawned from Seir upon us. He shone forth from Mount Paran. He came from the 10,000s of holy ones with flaming fire at his right hand. As with the story of Moses, we can see similarities between the mountains ascribed in both texts, as well as wording used to describe the gods. A burning bush is a flaming fire that must assume the form of powerful radiation and energy emanations from metallic and/or etheric spacecraft. Accounts from eyewitnesses attest to the fact that both Moses and Enoch, as well as others described in these types of encounters like Ezekiel and Elijah, appear to light up in a chariot of fire and ascend to heaven. Heaven, of course, was the sky and above to the ancients, not the dimensional frequency which metaphysicians attribute it to today. The Arcturians, the watchers, in some accounts, are known to be the keepers of the Arcturian Stargate and are mentioned in the Book of Knowledge, Keys of Enoch by J.J. Hurtak. They are acquainted as shepherds watching the faithful on the other side of the river of crystal, or in other words, the Milky Way galaxy. Arcturus is considered to be the midway programming center for the physical brotherhoods of the universe. The Arcturians are the shepherds who corral souls between incarnations on Earth and other planets in this sector of the galaxy. And they are also the governing body for this universe. Arcturus being the home of the most ascended of beings. The Eye of Horus was a motif used in ancient Egypt as a portal into the higher heavens or higher dimensional frequencies inhabited by the consciousness. The eye in the triangle is the Eye of Horus, as well as the denotation for the Arcturian Stargate. The holy triangle of light is this triangle, and the eye is not the all-seeing eye, but in fact the fifth eye chakra, an extension of the third eye chakra. In his book, Dr. Hurtak writes that until the Eye of Horus arrives, the consciousness of man is forever trapped in the karmic cycles of life. The Adam Kadmon, or the primeval man, was the original blueprint for the seeds of human life on Earth, instigated by the Arcturians and Lyrians. Note here, I mean the original seeds of all life on Earth, not the genetic tampering performed by the Nibiruans, the Anunnaki. The Illuminati operating today has used the symbol of the all-seeing eye for many centuries, but the concept is not originally theirs. They have borrowed it because of the power it holds. The Arcturians are the real guardians of the eye in the triangle, the Arcturian Stargate and the Holy Triangle of Light. Hurtak's work posits the spiritual and scientific issues of the future, as well as the methodology in which we humans exist in this three-dimensional reality. Prime Creator's manifestation can only be fully realized when we discover the higher thought forms and mathematical rhythms of light vibrations that connect us to the macrocosm of the collective unconscious. The divine blueprints for all biological and mineral manifest form. The Book of Knowledge, Keys of Enoch, does quite well in demonstrating the relationship between DNA, coding, and the transmissions and emanations of all higher manifest thought forms, since everything in creation originates as a thought in the universal consciousness. The Arcturians profess that human unconscious will soon merge with the universal unconscious, and above all, this work describes the divine genetic code within the human body that will prepare mankind for new vistas of life within the spectrum of higher evolution of the species. The transformation of light, succeeding aspects of identical central genetic light information. What Jesus Christ referred to as the house of many mansions is a revelation of the greater meaning of life in which we are all participating. Shakespeare once said that life is but a play, and Beethoven, upon his passing away from the material realm, said, "Applaud, friends, the comedy is over." Life is a dream, and we are dreaming. We are free-willed, multidimensional beings who create reality with thoughts and emotions in every moment. The keys of Enoch are an archetype for different levels of spiritual consciousness. And through intensive study and understanding of the methods in which there are varying levels of coding in the biological framework of physical existence can and will be apprehended. Visions of the future reveal a new science. Medical astronomy will be applied towards the adjusting pressure fluctuations that underlie mechanisms administering new axiatonal lines, which according to her talk are stimulated by noise temperature, calibration, seventh dimensional sound pulsation. The following is an excerpt from the Book of Knowledge, Keys of Enoch. Here, overself is a synonym for oversoul. 1. There is at work within all biological systems a path of interchangeability to standardize unique vibratory levels. Our galactic body of creation controls its renewing functions through median axiatonal lines, which are the equivalent of acupuncture lines that can connect with resonating star systems. These axiatonal lines are not limited to a physical body or a biological creation, but are open-ended and can connect the body vehicle with axiatonal lines that emanate from the various star populations and exist as chemical code mechanisms. When man can discover the connection between his life space and the axiatonal grids controlling the body through endless cell divisions, man will have a new superscience known as medical astronomy. For the human body is a microcosmos, or small space-time field within a larger field. If we can maintain this view, we can recognize that acupuncture is one of the first empirical demonstrations of biological scaling within the universe. If we are to approach acupuncture from the standpoint of biophysics and also understand the higher force fields which go through the human system as a small open-ended universe, then we can understand how this thinking organism known as the human being can be attached to other thinking organisms within the local universe. In essence, man is a floating biological subsystem existing between magnetic fields. The magnetic fields shape the embryological lines of growth and correspond to a magnetic grids delineated within the body. These embryological lines are controlled by biochemical clocks, which in turn are controlled by the magnetic resonance factors in the immediate universe. Answers to problems of growth connected with the biochemical clocks in the human body will come from experiments conducted outside the Earth's gravitational and electromagnetic field. The human evolution is a preconditioned experiment within a world of happenstance relativity. Without higher evolutionary programming or direct programming by an oversoul intelligence, the human biological system must go back into the overall flux of magnetic fields when the system is discorporated. When man is directly programmed by an oversoul, he is no longer kept in biochemical slavery within a three-dimensional consciousness by the apparent realities of the earth. In this case, the body is a grid of magnetic domains which moves between the primary blueprint of the oversoul, and the pattern angles of the human organs, the axial relationship. The lines which tie together these magnetic domains are the axiatonal lines. The axiatonal lines can exist independent of the oversoul, but still require the governing functions of the higher evolution. The governing functions are required because the axiatonal grid structures pass through several evolutionary orders, all sharing and working in the same local life space on different dimensions of activity. Therefore, the axiatonal grids tend to enter and interface with the biological activity taking place on higher and lower vibratory frequencies within the space being used by various biologists. Yet these grids are not governed by the laws and mechanisms controlling physical evolution, for they operate by means of their own accretion of energy for maintenance. However, on this planet, it is important to know that acupuncture lines, acupuncture lines can be acquired with progressive and regressive axiatonal lines. This is due to the residual effects of the human rebellion. Therefore, acupuncture, as used during the last 12,000 years of evolutionary existence, was cut off from the progressive higher start programming channels when the root races revolted against the programming of the Father. This caused the 12 biophysical meridians to be truncated from direct connection with the Oversoul source. Furthermore, the biological interconnection within the higher astronomy was lost at that time, which requires the intervention of the office of the Christ to restructure the axiatonal line. Until this time, the body has been left to work on molecular biological levels with only limited magnetic resonance patterns to continue the functions of the amino acid, the basic building blocks of life. Thus, non-Adamic characteristics appeared in the human race because the molecular biological levels were cut off from the data transmission systems, sustaining the mechanisms of both higher medical astronomy as well as bioelectrical activities of the higher evolution. In other words, man was cut off from the higher star points that are necessary to maintain a perfected form of the Adam Kadmon. That's the universal human blueprint. In order to reconnect the biological interconnection with the higher energy planes serving higher evolutionary programming, the acupuncture lines of the old program have to be attached to the new axiatonal lines at their intersections if the cellular grids are to be in harmony with all physical manifestations permitted by the governing hierarchy. This is the bringing together of molecular biology with medical astronomy within programs of creation. Man at this time is being advanced to a new biological program of creation. This advancement requires his acupuncture lines be extended to axiatonal lines that will be connected directly with the Oversoul source. For if man is to go on into further soul progression, he must connect his axiatonal lines to his Oversoul, which is also making an ascension into the next quantum level of the Adam Kadmon, just as the Adam Kadmon body is making an ascension into a completely new program in our sun universe. The axial lines are a part of a fifth dimensional circulatory system combining color and sound, which are used to draw from the Oversoul body the basic energy used for the renewing functions of the human evolutionary body. Hence, the axiatonal lines can be used for the complete regeneration of an organ and even to resurrect the dead when activated by the proper energies. The key is to be used at the time when the human evolutionary molecular grids are in direct alignment with the higher evolutionary resonance grids, permitting ultrasonic pulsations to allow for direct changes within vascular body. That was from the Book of Knowledge, Keys of Enoch, chapter 3, verses 1 through 7. Through intellectual and parascientific fervor, Hertok details an astonishingly accurate depiction of what appears in the flesh to be a metaphysical correlation to the modus operandi proposed by Hermes Trismegistus, aka Thoth, the Atlantean. The full potential within lies in our cellular and DNA structure can only be fully realized when a projection of light and information coming from the recorder cell manifests the perfect blueprint of our physical structure, referred to in Hertok's book as the Adam Kadmon. Is Adam Kadmon synonymous with Lulu? I don't think so. Lulus, if you recall, were created by the Anunnaki as the slave workers to mine the gold for them. I believe the Adam Kadmon was the original human blueprint, and the Lulu design was bestowed by the Nibiruans, the Anunnaki. Hertok's vision for the future subsumes a macroscopic understanding of the way the Earth and the universe provide a direct connection to the body's magnetic grid, merely a fluctuation of electromagnetic impulses influenced by the magnetic resonance variances in the cosmic mind. The axiatonal lines, in effect, provided a chemical and electrical code resonance for the manipulation of all biological forms throughout the universe. The body is nothing more than an electrochemical computer, and it is programmed for upgrades, called the evolution of consciousness. Hertok also does quite well in stating that the two-stranded DNA structure trapped in 3 dimensions of consciousness is an experiment of higher density beings, the archons, the Anunnaki. For long, we have not been masters of our bodies because we have not been masters of our mind. Total adroitness over the body is a result of a clear mind. Of a clear mind, I might add, connected back to source through our Oversoul. More specifically, magnetism and the attractions of the fifth dimension are a result of a clear mind. Only a frequency of pure light and love will activate mental clarity. Let me repeat that. Only a frequency of pure light and love will activate mental clarity. And two races that can provide assistance in this endeavor are the Arcturians and the Pleiadians. We'll pick up more on that after I get through going to the local church and doing some volunteer work. Namaste. Namaskaram.